This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and struggles. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to think to get the energy and the vitality you want in this second and better half. And my guest today is going to help us do just that. Leah Lund is a Neuro Nutrient Therapist, Hypnotherapist, Rapid Transformation Therapist, and Health Coach. She founded One Whole Health to help women reboot their brain to move past anxiety, overwhelm, and food or body issues into vibrant health, mental clarity, and the courage and capacity to live a fulfilling, happy life. Her unique Brain Makeover Method uses Neuro Science, Neuro Nutrition, Hypnotherapy, and other techniques as the springboard to help you feel happy and confident and find freedom from anxiety, depression, overwhelm, emotional eating, cravings, low energy, brain fog, insomnia, pain, and burnout. As an author, speaker, laughter yoga leader, author, and past mentor for the Neuro Nutrient Therapy Institute, Leah regularly appears on stages, podcasts, and online shows all over the world. She served as a keynote speaker for the Librarian Leadership and Prosperity Conference 2014 and the Inspire event SoCal in 2016 and Ecuador 2017. Her humanitarian work includes the Water Bearers Project to bring clean, safe water to every person in the world. More information is available on Leah at onewholehealth.com. And that link, by the way, will be in the show notes. Leah, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, Deborah, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I love everything you do, as you know, and I'm just happy to contribute.
Well, and we should tell everybody we're actually neighbors, but we've never actually connected in Colorado.
Yeah, if you call like 5 hours-ish neighbors, right? But that's Colorado neighbors.
True. And I love what we're diving into today. So, and I could not say laughter yoga leader without smiling. You probably hear it.
I know.
It just sounds fun. So we may have to circle back to that a little bit. But
please do. Yeah.
Know, one of the hot topics among many of my groups is self-sabotage. When they're kind of on the exit, on the way out the door, it's never my hope that they're going to be codependent, but actually that I've given them some wings so that they can fly the coop. But this question that I've got for you, because you are the authority, why is it so hard to get ourselves to do the things we want to do and that are good for us?
Well, yeah, thank you for asking that, because it's not about knowledge, clearly, right? We can gather a huge mountain of knowledge. And I even love Albert Einstein says imagination is so much better than knowledge because knowledge is limited. And from Albert Einstein, right? So knowledge it would be like watching a video of a training instead of doing a training. So part of it is that inherently to make a change, it requires integration, action, experience, being involved in it. And the other little, I call it the greatest form of self-sabotage, is this concept of willpower. Like if I just think it hard enough, then it will happen. and trust me, I know our thoughts create. Like I really do. I really understand law of attraction and all of that. I practice it daily. And also we have to get off the couch, right? Some of my humanitarian effort is in Africa, and there's a really great African proverb, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but it's something to the effect of pray, but move your feet.
Yeah. So good. Okay. So how do we train our brain to do these things and to make us want to move our feet?
Yeah. So that's a complex question because it's multifaceted, right? There are There are physical and biochemical and brain chemistry ways to get us to do things naturally as we're born to do that we'll get into, but certainly thoughts and beliefs and your environment all take a role somewhere. And so the biggest thing I'd want to say to your listeners is it's all of that. Like, stop thinking all or nothing. Can I just pick the one strategy that, gets me into action and that's it? And I can check it off the list and then I'm done now. I'm a healthy eater now. I'm losing weight now. I'm working out now. It doesn't really work that way because every day is a new experience and we are nothing but moving energy, right? I know you know this and believe and teach this, Deborah, that we're moving molecules. So we're always in transition. So it's a continual process of checking in with all these parts of ourselves and taking action in every area as much as we can.
Love that. And kind of just letting that sink in. And I find myself continuing to go back to what you said about, it is all of that. It's so many things. It is our beliefs and our thoughts. And as you kind of flirted across that, something tripped me up there. And it brings me to a big poster. And I don't know why I put this up in the bathroom, in my son's bathroom, but it was about, be careful how does this go, Leah? You know this one, right? Be careful what you think because they become your beliefs, or then they become your habits and they become your actions. I think, which is it? I mean, how do we change our beliefs? Because that seems to be the core at where we must get stumbled up or jumbled up or stuck from change, because we believe a certain thing, even if it's not right or it's not right anymore, it's been replaced by new science. How do we get those thoughts in? Is it about, in my world, it's about frequency and intensity and consistency. Is it somewhat about that?
For sure. Yeah. And it's really, and I love, one time I was driving, I used to live in LA and do the freeways every day and like all that craziness. But I loved where I lived, which was right at the ocean. And one day I saw a bumper sticker, "Don't believe everything you think." And
Yes.
it's basically what you were saying there. And it's true. And yet at the same time, it's hard to change your thought if you have a really ingrained belief. It's almost impossible to change your thought if your neurotransmitter depleted, which is one piece of what I do, but it's a very foundational, significant piece. And so when my clients even ask me, should I do this or this? I say yes. And they're like, well, which one? I say, well, both.
I want your job, girlfriend.
Because it's like, do I journal or do I eat healthy? Both. Do I have my spiritual connection or do I take neuro nutrition for my brain, which we can get into? Both and more, probably, because we are actually at ease the most when we are integrating our mind, body, spirit parts of ourselves. So anytime we get and I've done this myself too, where you get into it's just physical. I'll just run the crap out of my stuff, and then I'll train harder, and then I'll do this and I'll do that. And then you go, oh, maybe it's nutrition. Oh, maybe it's mindset. Oh, maybe it's all of it.
Yes. So good. Okay. So you brought up a term though I'm really intrigued about. So neurotransmitter deficiency.
Yeah.
Tell me what that is.
So we have 4 major neurotransmitter groups, I'll say, that are largely responsible for naturally feeling good, meaning they are our natural design. Our brain is designed to make serotonin, to make GABA, endorphin, dopamine, all these areas that really should help us be really emotionally stable and resilient when stuff comes up. But we get depleted, and we get depleted a lot of different ways that I'm happy to go into. The biggest thing I want women, especially, to know is that if we're depleted, then some of the things that you might start to think are who you are, like cravings or anxiety or depression or irritated or procrastinating or a perfectionist or so many things, there's actually a biochemical, physical part of that you can, by the way, restore very naturally with usually it takes more than changing your diet, but changing your diet supports it for the future. It usually will take targeted amino acid therapy, which means supplementing protein
Mm-hmm.
so that you can feel again like your brain is designed to feel. And then you don't get emotionally thrown out of or in defense or personalizing things, or things are not such a struggle because you have this beautiful natural buoyancy.
Fantastic. I want to summarize that in my words and for my audience. So my listeners, many of them have done some work with me or gone through the 28-day kickstart, maybe the After 50 fitness formula for women. And we talk about this all the time. As you're talking about the neurotransmitters and food being medicine, which I love so much long term, that's probably the end game. But if you've dug yourself in a hole, it's like taking, simply the bare minimum of a daily vitamin is not necessarily going to help you fill that hole up. First, you potentially have to take more of those certain things you're deficient in to fill the hole up and then to be able to run with the daily things that you need to put in. And I think that's really what you're talking about. I love that. Okay, let's talk a little bit. What depletes that? Because I think there are a lot of probably women out there who are more anxious, who might not qualify themselves as saying I'm clinically depressed, but just don't feel good.
Right.
What depletes these things?
So there's a few different causes of the depletion, but nutrition is one, which it doesn't only mean not eating right. It does mean that. But it can also be absorption issues, gut health, availability, what you've learned is right. Like how many women across the world have learned that pasta is love, right? So, there's a lot of factors, including absorption, and none of these are meant to blame or, make anyone feel bad. Like just take it in. So nutrition is one, but also stress level. And a lot of my clients are really split between those of us, and I say us because I fall in that category when I had my biggest burnout of just tolerating, being a good person, like good woman, tolerating stress, tolerating it, but it goes on so long until your natural coping chemicals are just depleted. And you get to learn a different way of doing things. But it also, that stress can be a divorce, a loss of someone you love, a major illness. It could either be in one fell swoop or it can be a growing chronic condition of how you're living. Also, calorie restriction. Women who have dieted, certainly eating disorders, but women who have dieted frequently here and there over and
I
over.
think you could just stop with women. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Serotonin being one of the primary chemicals, women, even when we're producing it well, our design is that we produce a third less than men.
Ugh.
And I really have not found an answer as to why, but it is a fact. And so we just get to make friends with our biology and say, okay, here's the things I need. My husband might not need it. We know they're from Mars, right?
That is so funny. That's so funny that you said that, because at that instant I was just thinking, I remember hearing John Gray talk about the fact that men can make dopamine from a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah. Right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not fair. It's not right as far as I'm concerned, but it is. So it's a matter of accepting that and I'm going to totally be digressing here, but learning to communicate that, like, honey, you might not need this, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
I need
But,
breakfast. I
and
need to
how
balance my
hard
blood
that
sugar.
is. How hard is that for women? Yeah, so used to serving and putting other people's needs first. So it's not even that we need to level the playing field and say we both need it. It's actually she needs to say, hey, here's what I need.
Yeah, completely.
Yes. Okay, so talk about, I think you're speaking to this. So this falls under the whole neuro nutrition. I mean, is
Yes.
there a definition for that? I mean, how can we really take that in and kind of digest it?
So,
Pun intended.
yeah, and yeah, right. An alternative description would be targeted amino acid therapy,
Got it.
which has still not really become mainstream at all.
No.
But if you search, there are practitioners from 20, 30 years ago that have been doing targeted amino acid therapy. But it's really giving the brain therapeutic levels of those proteins it might have been missing up until now for a period of the average I see with my clients is 5 or 6 months that they take these supplements, and it literally heals this production of neurotransmitter in their brain. And it's certainly for those who are experiencing anxiety and depression and on a medication. This is a fantastic alternative in that it's actually giving the brain what it needs to do it by itself. So it's not a lifelong thing. It's a month, 5, 6. In the case of really severe trauma, maybe a severe addiction, it might take a year, but you do reach an endpoint where you can even go off those supplements and you can still feel happy instead of depressed, energetic instead of fatigued. You can sleep, you don't have cravings, all these things that our neurotransmitters are responsible for, you benefit from.
So if you're depleted, what you're saying is by taking these therapeutic doses appropriate for you, you can heal yourself and then your body then can continue to do it on its own.
Yeah. The body and brain have been doing it all along. The reserve tank just got depleted.
Got it.
So you kind of help your body catch up with your life, with what you've been exposing it to, the stress you've been exposing it to.
Love it. Okay. So important. So what you've also said there is that someone who even is on medication, so it's not necessarily an either or thing.
No.
You could do both, correct?
You can do both, but definitely work with a practitioner there because there are some contraindications between amino, so if I were, for example, working with someone, I find out their medications they've been taking and we transition.
Perfect. Love that. Okay. So let's kind of circle back a little bit. I mean, what are your suggestions for, I think there are a lot of women who would agree they might come to a webinar, they might read a blog, it might be a long time thought or belief about the way they should exercise. So let's just say when I sell to somebody, I want you to exercise less and eat more. Now in both ways, it's of the right thing, right? And with the right purpose. But what they've heard for decades is potentially, I want you to eat less and exercise more. And that's calorie in, calorie out deficit. If you create that, you will lose weight. Even though logically they could come and listen to me talk or read something and say, this makes so much more sense. But when you go to make that decision, maybe on the treadmill or the run or the way you're going to exercise, it's very hard to actually change if you have that deeply ingrained subconscious belief about something. Can you give us some tangible steps for And maybe they are intangible given they're related to thoughts. But how can we begin to change something?
So, first, I want to say that I'm completely aligned with what you said about eat more and exercise less. Really. I
Fantastic.
mean, it's still the same equation, right?
Hmm.
It's still the
Yep.
same, like calories minus effort or exercise equals metabolism, whatever you want to call it. But I see far more women that don't eat enough, that are over exercising, that are actually obsessed with healthy food, orthorexia, you know,
Hmm. Yep.
and so I'm with you completely
I'm going
on
to
the
pause you right there. So I know you said that really quickly and I picked it up, but I want to make sure listeners do. The
mhm,
word she said was orthorexia. It is a thing, ladies. So if you're
mhm.
reading every label and you're just so hyper conscious, as it is so easy to do today because we're sitting in the middle of the room, spinning around, looking at paleo, looking at keto, looking at low carb, looking at high carb, high fat. What do we do that it's so hard to make a decision about what I eat today? But that kind of over focus on, is this healthy? And what's in this, what's not in that, to the extent we've lost the pleasure in our food. That's orthorexia. So,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, thank you so much for pausing. And for me, food is fuel, and that's what I teach. It's not your lover. It's not the best movie ever. It's not a wild, exciting life, although we can take pleasure out of food, of course, but it doesn't substitute. So, something I frequently assign to my clients is make a non food menu. I call it a menu to, make it food
Hmm.
related to the brain chemical that you're lacking in. So, if it's endorphin, it's like pleasure, love, it's kind of our peace and love hippie
Hmm.
thing, and I'm like, "Trust me, there are way better ways to find that." And um, they're not chemicals and they're not substances. Like, what if you actually just had that, period?
Mm.
That comfort, that pleasure, that fun, that ease with life actually is a big non-food menu. Ease with life. You don't have to control it. You don't have to know everything. So we do get into mindset here, right? Because
Yeah, very much.
it's like, but whatever it is you think the food is doing for you, identify how you would describe that. Oh, it makes me feel relaxed. Then make a list of 25 non-food menu items that make you feel relaxed. Go to those first. Indulge. Often our treats are indulgence. Food is really a poor substitute for like radical indulgence of ourself, right? If you've ever, whatever that means to you, hike a mountain, we're in Colorado, so that qualifies, but surf a wave, like have a quiet, leave the whole family at home and have a quiet night with a girlfriend. That's
Or tell
very
the whole family to leave home, right?
right. Bring your girlfriend home. I don't know where you're gonna go, but you gotta get out of here. No. Right? Like find those indulgences, but replace whatever it is that food seems to be bringing with the real thing.
I love that. So good and so simple, right? What if you actually just
Well,
had it?
simple, but maybe not easy, right?
Yeah.
Because then you
Mhm.
have to have the conversations. I find that's one of the most difficult things for my
Mm.
client is to say, honey, I want you to take
Mhm.
the kids and get out of here. And explain it, but explain it neutrally, no emotion,
Mhm.
just neutrally. This is what a woman's body needs. This is what I need. This is what my mental state needs right now. Doesn't mean I don't love you. I'm trying to make myself even better so I have more to give for you too.
So very good. So very good. Okay. And you use a term called emotional capacity.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what is that?
Yeah. So that is one of my clients one time used the word buoyancy. And I thought that's beautiful, right? Like that is exactly. It means you can float. You can float through all the stuff like life brings at you. You don't take it personally. You don't get all worked up and anxious, depressed. Like you can know who you are. You can look at your feelings and they don't even upset you. You have that ability to kind of step out and be the observer and say, wow, I'm reacting with anger. I'm reacting with worry. But that's not who I am. It doesn't have to stay that way. I breathe into it. I let it go. I let it pass through me, not stop in me. And you really can sustain the long journey. Life isn't a destination, right? It's a journey. So you have the emotional resilience, would be another word, or emotional stability. You're grounded and rooted no matter what comes at you.
So good. All right. So I believe this might have been in the green room before we turned things on. So hopefully I'm not telling tales out of school, but you told me you are flipping 50 officially, really on the other side.
Really, 51 as of a couple weeks ago.
And what in your opinion, what is it that women fear most about aging?
Well, there was a really interesting study that caring.com, it's like an elderly support website, said, and it's about looks, and it's about, actually, there were some poignant things there. It was about looks and not wanting to have to depend on someone and running out of money and, some real things, definitely real things. But I think there's a whole nother level because I have had clients that are 35 years old and they're experiencing this fear. They're like, I'm so old. And of course, you and I would go, really? No, you're not.
I've heard my 24-year-old say that. I just want to slap him.
Yeah, right. But so why would a 24-year-old think they're old? Because they feel like they're not capitalizing on life, right? They feel like life is passing them by. They have something they want to be doing and they're not. They're living somebody else's life instead of their own. They're letting fear stop them. When we're completely engaged with our purpose, we're kind of okay whenever the end comes, right? Because we're like,
True. Yeah.
otherwise it's like, oh shit, I'm running out of time.
Yes.
Sorry, I just said shit on your podcast.
It spices it up a little bit, I find.
Okay, good. But yeah, well, that's why we don't feel like we're living our potential. That's probably your 24-year-old, or we're fearing the future instead of thinking about the now. So it really comes down to engaging in life. Well, what stops us from engaging in life? I call these the distractions: brain chemistry depletion, not being in shape, being overweight, having a disease, having limited thoughts, reacting to our emotions and not being able to. Those are all distractions from who you really are. The miracle, really, you're designed as, and the purpose that you have in this human experience.
Beautiful. Wow, I love that. So let me come back to summarize. So our fear is not living up to our potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not a potential like somebody else's expectation.
Yeah.
That's an internal, like our own potential for experience, like for expressing ourselves.
Do you find, so you're in this heat of the moment, as am I, do you find that we actually start to gain some power because we have maybe a sense of urgency now, and it's kind of a wake-up call for what am I waiting for?
Yes. 1,000%. And we might call it surrender, right? Like,
Mm,
it's kind of like,
mm.
okay, I'm definitely not able to go back. And so what am I holding myself back for?
Power and surrender. Boy, I like that. Leah, you have an upcoming event. Tell us about Reboot Your Brain.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So, Reboot Your Brain is a 2-week online show that this is now the 4th season, and this is the women's edition. And Deborah, you've been a guest previously. And so, we're about to start this year's show, and I am interviewing 33 experts on health and mindset and spirituality, really, all related to the brain as the springboard. And so we have everything from physical health and tapping, like meditation and tapping, and all of the emotional release techniques, and really into the spiritual side. And I think, I mean, they're all wonderful. So I couldn't pick one to listen to. I hope you listen to most of them. And we're trying to make that really easy for everybody this year so I can share more about that. But for an example, I think it's a series of how your brain can help you defy the odds, because we have a female MD gynecologist who at 38 was experiencing early menopause and reversed it and went on to have a child at age 41.
Nice.
We have a functional psychiatrist who was literally doing groundbreaking research on Alzheimer's. And then she hit at age 50, she started having symptoms of dementia that got so bad she couldn't even dial a phone. And she's there in her brilliance, way smarter than I am, like spouting out, and I'm like, whoa, because she reversed it. We have a mother who her son was diagnosed at age 5 on autism spectrum, and he's now 16, and he's been downgraded to ADD with autism like something or another, but he's so functioning that he's written books and he's teaching about autism
Oh my
at
goodness.
16 years old. So the message for me is, again, our brain can change every day. We're in charge, and nothing is permanent because we aren't, right? No energy is permanent. So I think it's going to be a really inspiring year.
Wow, I'm excited, so excited. And by the way, listeners, we will put this link in the show notes. So if you are walking, hiking, lifting, driving, you don't have to pull over. We've got you covered. And we'll have that so you can jump in and learn more, as well as best places to connect. Leah, where's the best place to learn more about Reboot Your Brain, just so we can mention it live?
Sure. So actually you have a link that you can put up but it's rebootyourbrainsummit.com.
Fantastic. Okay. So is there a question that I should have asked you that we didn't cover?
The only thing I can think of, because this is how I position, this is what keeps me going every morning, right? Because we have our mornings where it's like, okay, what's today? Our brain is the gateway to our real self, because all that other stuff is distraction. But however you're feeling, if it's anxiety, if it is stress, if it's I can't sleep, if it is I'm getting brain fog, that's not you. That's just your brain. Your thoughts aren't you. That's just your thoughts. Even your body is not you. That's just your body. So we are so much more. And this is really a journey back to ourself. When we heal ourselves, it's a journey to understand who we really are.
Eloquently said, and everything you shared today was so tip rich. Thanks so much. And listeners, if you have a question that we didn't ask, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com/reboot your brain with no spaces. I love hearing from you. And if this episode was helpful, please leave us a rating in iTunes. It really helps. And then share it with a friend. Surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. To get the most from this week's episode, check out today's show notes at flipping50.com. Again, it's /reboot your brain, where you'll find the juicy place to learn more about Reboot Your Brain. You'll also get ways to connect with Leah. And by the way, she has a face. She's so adorable. She has a face for TV. So it's so sad that this is only audio. You'll get everything we mentioned today. So what are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 together.